This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there, live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another special podcast-style edition of Wrestling Insiders, where we discuss current events, history, memories, and more about the greatest form of sport, action, excitement, and entertainment on the face of the planet. I'm Dan Marotti, joined by via telephone
WWE 2006 Hall of Famer, Mr. Good Looking, Mr. Handsome, Mr. Amazing, Mr. Everything, Tony Atlas, who is also full of shit.
Well, and you wish you were full of shoes, but that's a different story for a
That's
different
a different
time, I
story.
guess. Well, Tony, today I looked at my calendar. I was expecting to be on a plane flying home from the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Obviously, everyone knows that did not happen. Hopefully, knock on wood, it'll take place as it's supposed to be rescheduled the week of my birthday, which will be a lot of fun. But, Tony, what's going on up in Auburn, Maine today? I know you said earlier you were traveling the town. What were you doing up there?
Well, my usual schedule, the gym is closed. I got no students.
Yeah.
But I got a gym in my house. So what I do, I get up in the morning, fix my breakfast, then I work out, and then I go and do whatever errands I got to do that day. And then I come back home, watch a little television, work on my artwork. If I got some artwork to do, then I work on my artwork. And I do that up until supper time. Then I have my supper. And then I'll go to bed. Pretty boring life, but I love every minute of it.
What errands did Tony Atlas do today? What when you're out in the town, what is it that you do when you pull a little Brad Greenfield up there?
We stay under shutdown up here.
Yeah. Now, do you have to wear a mask when you go out?
Right. So when you go out, it's necessities.
So
for example, when I go out, it's to get groceries or to pay a bill.
Now, today when you went out, what was it that you were doing?
Today I had to go and pay some bills.
All right. Well, at least you're staying busy. You're not going crazy.
Normally it would take me about everything I did today. Normally it would take me about 30 minutes. It took me almost 2 hours to pay 2 bills.
Long lines, or what was the problem?
But yeah, because the way the shutdown is, the places that are over, they got a limit of how many people could be in the store at a time. Like the cell phone place, there was 10. But then they cut it down to only 5 people in the store at a time.
Oh, wow.
The supermarket was 50 people. Now they're down to like 25, only 25 or 30 people could be in the store at a particular time.
Oh, wow. That's stricter than it is down here.
Yeah. Well, we don't have the larger population either.
So it's easier for you to get away with it. I see what you mean.
Right. And plus, we got a liberal governor too, so.
All right. Well, Tony, we're glad you're still doing well up there. You're getting the workouts in. You still got those guns pumping. How much are you lifting at home where you don't have the gym equipment?
Well, because I don't have nobody to spot me on the bench, I will not go over 300.
That's the max at home.
Yeah, because I could take 300 off and put it back by myself.
I got you.
Yeah, so my workout start off, it's simple workout. I start off with 135, do 2 sets of 10. Then I go to 185, do 2 sets of 8. Then I go to from 185 to 225, and I do a set of 8. And then I go to 275. And I do that 6 half, and then I go to 315 and do 300 and do 2 or 3 reps. I don't want to go for many reps because if I can't get the last rep, then there's nobody there to get it off of me. So
that wouldn't be good. But
I do about 6 or 7 sets of benches. Then I do my dumbbell incline and my dumbbell fly. For back, I don't have a pull-up bar, or I can't pull down or do anything from the ceiling. So everything that I do for back is ruined. It's like I take and do dumbbell rows, barbell rows, dumbbell pullover, and of course do the curls for the arm. And then for legs, I do squats. I do dumbbell squats, single leg calf raiser, and deadlifts.
Well, I think it's fair to say.
Now, on my deadlift, I could go a little bit heavier. I could go up to 400 on my deadlift.
You have that many weights at home. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Well, what I do when I'm driving somewhere, and I see weights at a cheap price, I buy them. Like my weightlifting bench, I only pay $40 for it.
So you like to pay the cheapest price by the pound you can get for these weights?
No, if you look for something, people would buy stuff. If people would buy stuff, they would keep it for a year, maybe use it once or twice, and then they put it in Uncle Henry. They want to sell it, and they're not use it. Like I bought a 300-pound Olympic set from a guy for $50. He bought it. He bought the weights, used it one time.
He had no use for it.
He thought he did, but he likes going to the gym. He got to go to the gym. He can't train at home. So he bought these weights, and a 300-pound set of weights probably cost about $400.
So you got a good deal.
$50.
$50. You got a good deal.
Yeah, I bought an easy curl bar with weights for $15. You see this stuff all the time in the pawn shop, but people don't think about buying it. Like if I see a set of dumbbells, if I don't have that set, I buy it. It may not look like the other dumbbell, but it's the same weight. So when you look at my dumbbells, I got some that is round, some that is flat. They all look different.
Your arms don't know the difference, though, do they?
They don't.
They don't know the difference.
They don't know the difference. And then I try my best. I hope this don't be no insult to Vince or to Cody. I try to watch that wrestling. Really, that's hard. He got to do something else.
Who? Which one? Are you talking about WWE or AEW? Why don't you like empty arena wrestling, Tony? Tell me.
Horrible.
But what don't you like about it?
There's no atmosphere.
I agree with that.
It's boring. It's hard to get into. It's boring. It's no atmosphere. What he should do is go back to studio wrestling.
Well, essentially they are right now. They just don't have the...
They could do it now because every building got a certain amount of people. I could do studio wrestling here in Maine.
Oh, you mean...
Hey, even if you got 15 people sitting there, brother, it's better than nothing.
Sad to say, I think that's why AEW show comes off a little bit better to me, because at least they have 10 or so of the other wrestlers around the barricades cheering them on. At least there's some noise.
Yeah, you have to put some atmosphere to it. It's kind of like singing a song with being in a band and singing, in a band, but there's no instruments.
When you watch WWE show, another thing that's begun to stand out to me, when you listen to the announcers, it's almost like they're at a funeral or they're like calling play-by-play at a golf match. They're whispering. It's supposed to be exciting, and they're talking, they're talking very soft and like they don't want to interrupt the match or something like that. And I really think that takes away from the action too. And again, the funny thing is, as I like to point out, on the flip side, you probably have the most athletic, talented base as far as the moves that they're able to do you've ever seen. It's just the presentation right now is just, it's numbingly boring.
Yeah.
So,
it's hard to watch.
Would you rather have no wrestling or empty arena wrestling?
All you got to do is go back to studio wrestling. This is what I would do.
You think they should have a small studio with people in there?
He got all them students, like all of the people he let go. Okay?
You think he should let the talent in that he released to be the fans at the TV taping?
Yeah.
What is it then? I misunderstood.
Yes.
Oh, he should. That's what he should do to give them the 90-day payday. Have them come in and be the fans at ringside for the shows.
Yeah,
Well,
he's paying them to sit home and what? See, Vince knew how to. There's an old saying in wrestling.
let's hear it.
Once you hot shot territory, what he hot shot in his territory, then when the ticket sales started to drop, when interest started to drop, you got to go back to the basics.
Well, and as we've noted, it's pretty much been on a decline for the past 19 years or so, since 2001. But I don't know, Tony. If I was one of the wrestlers and they wanted me to come in and be a fan at ringside, I might be a little insulted. I don't know.
No. Here's how you do it. You got to create atmosphere.
You do. You need the atmosphere.
You need the atmosphere because all that silence, it drives a person nuts, like watching a silent movie,
You're right.
It's like watching a Charlie Chaplin movie.
Charlie Chaplin could come out.
Yeah. It still look like it reminded me of Charlie Chaplin now, silent movie. So this is how I would do it. I would go back to the basic. All them guys he laid off, I would put them in regular clothes. The wrestlers, this is what I would tell the wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
I would walk in, I would see John Cena, for example, and I would see some other wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I say, John Cena, you going over tonight. I go to the other guy and say, you put John Cena over, I want 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. I would walk away.
That's it.
I would walk away. Let the wrestler put together their own match.
And what about the promos? The same thing?
I would eliminate all that paperwork until I get my crowd back. I would eliminate all that storytelling, all that shit. Get away from all of that.
Well, I'll say...
You have to give them something. You have to give the people something they've never seen before. They've never seen 1970 wrestling. They've never seen it. To the people now, it'd be freaking brand new, where the wrestlers go out and do what they want to do, not what they choreograph to do. The wrestlers go out and say what they want to say, not what they choreograph to say. It was shocking freaking people to see wrestlers really just doing their own thing. They hadn't seen that, brother, since 1990. Vince stopped all that stuff in the 80s. Hogan was the last wrestler to Earl. After the Hogan era, wrestlers could never say what they want to say. When I was there in 2008, they gave me a fucking strip just to do a 30-second interview.
Well, I think right now they have the luxury of maybe being a little creative and a little innovative where things are just kind of... You don't think now is the time for that?
It's the worst time to do it now. It's the worst time.
I mean that, and I agree with you what you're saying. I think now is a time maybe to try something different, like you're suggesting, as opposed to presenting the same cookie cutter shows every week.
You got these wrestlers just sitting around the freaking building doing nothing. Put them in street code. Put them out in the order. If you get about 20 people, put them all on one side.
One side is where you'd put them.
One side. Right. Just like we did in the older days. Like when you watch Georgia Championship Wrestling, you see how they had it set up?
Yep.
I think it was like 15 or 20 people in the whole freaking building.
Now, you were back.
You couldn't get more than that in there.
How would you get it, out of curiosity, where you worked that territory? How would you be able to attend one of those tapings? Would you have to be the first in line, or did they sell tickets?
But see, it's not open to the public yet.
I'm talking. I'm talking about back in the heyday of Georgia Championship Wrestling. How could you attend if you were a fan? Did you have to buy a ticket?
Buy tickets at the door.
At the TV studio?
No, yeah, it was at the door. You buy them at the door, just like you do an independent show. It was around the same way independents around.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that era of Georgia Championship Wrestling, Tony. I'm sorry, but no, it's interesting.
People come to the door. It was every week, so everybody knew about it. Didn't even have to advertise it.
Yeah.
Because it was a territory.
Yeah.
With territory, they ran the same show. They were like, let's say you live in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first Monday of every month was the Gardens. The first Monday, if you look at all the Madison Square Garden shows, there was always on a Monday night, the first Monday of the month. They ran it once a month, the first Monday of the month.
Yeah.
So the people knew.
They knew.
They knew. Just like at 6 o'clock, you know the news come on. They don't need to advertise. We be on at 6. You know they're on at 6.
It was predictable. They knew it was coming.
Predictable. So fans would show up, and we always had a large sellout simply because you had limited seating.
If you can't put 15 to 20 in, you're doing something wrong.
Well, they know the one that the people knew if they couldn't get in this week, they'd make it next week.
They try it for the next week. All right, fair enough.
See what they would do. If you can't get in this week, they would sell you the ticket for next week.
Oh, they'd sell them in advance.
They already got, and that's how they kept it rolling.
Well, I think
a lot of people couldn't get in, and the people that stood in line that couldn't get in, they was able to buy tickets for the next event.
I think as Florida continues to reopen more and more,
some of the regulars were smart. They would buy tickets for the month.
Yeah. Well, if you're a diehard fan and you want to go, sure, why not?
Yeah.
But I think
they get a monthly pass. So
I think
they were there every week. So we had a couple of fans that were there every week.
I think as Florida continues to open up more, Tony, that's what you're going to see, not at the Performance Center where they are now, but when they can go to the Full Sail University where they tape NXT, I think you'll see all three of their shows, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, all taped there in front of, even if fans are spaced out 6 to 10 feet. Like you said, having 50, 75 fans in that building is a lot better than 0.
You see, when Vince was the one that stopped using the studio.
Yeah.
He went straight to
the bigger arenas.
Right. What he got to do is go back to the days of the WWF and show them how wrestling was done then. Advertise it. Old school wrestling.
Well, I think in the beginning, at least, that's if they're going to have any fans at all, that's what the setup is going to have to be.
Old school wrestling.
Old school wrestling, yeah.
Old school wrestling.
You think that's how they should advertise it?
Yes, old school wrestling.
Old school wrestling. All right.
What it really is, the wrestlers decide on the match, not the promoter. Not like when I wrestled against what's my jig? Evan Bourne.
Yeah.
That match, if I had something to do with that match, would never went like that.
You would have produced it a little different.
But to make sense, I had to do it. They wanted me to do it by the strip. By the strip, Evan Bourne was as big as me, and I was as small as him. Okay? The script was written for two people the same size and weight. And when a wrestler wrestled individually, like Harley Race was, in my opinion, was the best world champion we ever had during my generation.
Mm-hmm.
The best. Because Harley Race would wrestle your style.
Yeah.
When he wrestled with Steamboat, he adjusted and worked the way Steamboat worked. When he wrestled me, he worked the way I worked. Now, Ric Flair was a good champion, but when you wrestled Ric Flair, you had to do Ric Flair match.
I understand. Yeah,
When you wrestled Terry Funk, you had to do Terry Funk match. Now, when you wrestled Dory Funk, he didn't get as big or didn't have the tight as long. Now, Dory would wrestle your style.
He'd work with you.
What they call a true champion is a guy that can work with a 200-pound man, but he can also have a great match with a 400-pound man.
You like working with Dory.
A great match with Andre. He knew how to work with Andre to make it believable. And then he could turn right around and have another match with Evan Bourne and make it look believable.
Well, you've had a chance to work with a lot of the greats, Tony.
Like sometimes Harley would hit me, and I was trying to sell it. Harley said, "You too big to sell that." Don't. He said, "Wait, I'll tell you when to sell." So he hit me again. I registered. Hit me again. I registered. And then Harley would do something real big to make me sell it. But that made sense. Harley figured nobody gonna believe, especially when I used to look in the old days, that somebody could punch Tony Atlas one time and knock him down.
You had to pace it out.
But even if it was true, even if he was able to do it, people don't believe it. So a lot of things that was capable, it had to be within the frame of believability. Mm-hmm. And that is what missing in today's wrestling. And by doing the old school wrestling, that's how guys develop it. See, these guys are wrestling concentrating on the strip, not concentrating on the match.
Isn't it weird how it's evolved, and not such a good way?
When you watch Undertaker's all day long old school, but I don't think they dictate to him how to do his matches.
Right.
That's why he surpassed everybody. He's in a position where he could do in that ring what he wants to do. Not have some little 25-year-old college kid that couldn't fight his way off a wet paper bag, never been in a fist fight in a day of his life, tell the Undertaker how to stage a fight, because he got a good degree.
Yeah, that's a big problem with it, is the people that have no background, history, or sometimes even interest in wrestling that are there for the job, trying to structure what's being done.
They their life. They never did it amateur. They never did it professional. They went to school and got a degree in what, art and science or drama.
Yeah.
You know, and they write stories. They writers. They're not writers. They writers.
Well, and I think it shows every time you put on the TV.
It was so like the old time actors. They did not have the all the special effects and everything. So I remember one time, what was this guy's name? Elvis Presley. He would go make a cowboy movie. He was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He had a uncle that was a truck driver,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why he wore hair like that. It's the way the truck driver used to wear their hair. The sideburns and the puff up in the front. That was a stand-up truck drivers back in the old days. And that's why them guys used to pretend to be the truck driver, but they were real popular, during that time. And so what he did, he imitated his uncle or whoever. And then you watch the Virginia, the guy that played Virginia, they interviewed him one day. He said he was imitating his grandfather.
Really?
It was an imitation of his grandfather. Richard Pryor made tons of money imitating people in his community. It's kind of like if I was a comedian, I would imitate Bull Montana. See,
why
today
is
if
that?
I did that, right? Today, if I did that, they say I'm making fun of.
Right. Yeah.
Them. But what I do, I be his character, which his character is funny.
That's one way to describe it.
Bull Montana is funny as hell. I remember me and Monica one time, some of the younger wrestlers had some girls in the room, and I'm in the room with my wife. So Bull Montana knocked on the door. You know what he asked me?
What did he say?
He asked my wife, he said, "Yeah, is Tony there?" And she said, "Yeah, he's in the bathroom." He said, "When we come out the bathroom, tell him come to our room. We got some girls in the room." He said that to my wife.
Did he realize it was your wife?
Yes.
Oh.
We was on the road together all week. Of course he knew she was traveling with me. Everybody knew she was my wife. How can he not know?
Well, look at the brain makeup of that one.
Yeah.
All right, Tony, we got a couple interesting questions this week that came in off the wire, off of Twitter at MWF Project X. We're over 53,000 fans are chatting, talking the great sport of professional wrestling. Tony, there was a new episode of Dark Side of the Ring that launched over the past week about a man that you crossed paths with right around the time it was discussed, Dr. D. David Schultz. I don't think he's ever come up on the program before, Tony.
No, he never had.
What are some of your memories of Dr. D before we dive into the main point of contention with him, which you were actually around quite a bit?
Well, not that much because he was a heel.
Yeah, you didn't really socialize with him.
Heel and Baby didn't travel that much. But for the few things, I always got along with him. I mean, me and him, we worked against each other. He was always a good worker. I never had any problem with him. Never had a problem. I know he did an interview with somebody and he said something I was temperamental. He had a problem with me, but I'm sitting there thinking, I said, when? How?
Well,
I can't remember him ever having any type of, I can't remember any of it.
T. Christine Allen out in Buffalo, New York said that apparently David felt that you didn't like him talking about your father and your grandfather in some of his promos out in Portland. Do you remember that?
No.
No. All right. Well, you might have forgot. The episode was heavily focused around the John Stossel incident. I'm sure you remember that. You actually worked with David.
I was there.
Well, you worked with David both the night before and the night after of the Stossel incident.
I was there when he slapped him.
What do you recall about it, Tony? Let's hear it, brother.
We was in the dressing room.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, it was Madison Square Garden.
Yes, it was MSG.
All right. If I'm not mistaken, we sat in the dressing room. Vince McMahon Jr. come into the dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we got this guy walking around asking his wrestling fate. He said, I wish somebody would take care of him. I got up. SD grabbed me by the hand and said, boss man, stay out of it. SD Joe. I was going to do it because, I wanted, at that time, I wasn't doing too good with Junior. You know that.
Right, yeah.
I would have did anything for brownie points at that time.
Sure.
So then he grabbed me by the hand and he pulled me back down, SD Joe. He said, boss man, stay out of it. Stay out of it, boss man. So I sat back down. As soon as I sat back down, David Schultz got up and went out the door.
Mm-hmm.
The guy asked David, about is wrestling fake. David slapped him. He says, that fake? Got to get up and slap him again. After the slap, Vince came in, hugged David. Everybody patted him on the back. Thank you, brother. Yeah. You teach them fucking marks. Yeah. You look after the business, protect the business, brother. Yeah. I say a couple of weeks or so later, they got rid of David.
So after it happened, the slap itself in the hallway, McMahon came into the locker room and he put David over for it.
Oh, everybody did.
Yeah.
Everybody did until he went to court.
Well, and then it became a legal situation. Tony, also going by the history books, you were also in Los Angeles, California in February of 1985, what led to David's release. Apparently, he was told to stay away from Mr. T, who he had grown to detest.
I was there for that. I was standing right there. I watched the whole incident go down.
Describe the incident in Los Angeles, Tony, please.
Me and David I was sitting there talking to Mr. T.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Mr. T. Because Mr. T knew me from the AWA.
Right.
He used to go to every show in Chicago.
Loved it.
We loved Tony. He was a Tony Atlas fan. In fact, if he was live, he'd tell the same thing. I could have got him as my manager when I was with the AWA because Kurt Hennig went back and told Vern Gagne. He said, why don't you have Mr. T to manage Tony the next time we wrestle here? He said, do you see how Mr. T acts around Tony? Because he used to jump up on the ring apron and hug me in front of everybody.
Really?
Oh, it was like a kid in the candy store. He used to love that Tony Atlas.
Wow.
You got to realize I was on the only black thing in that area. So all black people like Tony Atlas back then.
That was a white territory, Tony.
Where there was no junkyard dog,
Yeah.
or there was, I mean, Bobo been through a little bit, Ernie been through a little bit, but they never had a studied black person there in AWA. Think about it. I was the first one that stayed in the territory. I didn't stay but a couple of months, but I stayed in the territory longer than any black person ever seen. So when I went to Chicago is mostly black.
Right.
So Mr. T, to see a black wrestler back in them days, and it wasn't many of us on top.
It was a commodity.
It was a commodity then, exactly. So Mr. T goes show up. So he showed up and he was out there talking. David came outside giving him crap.
Why was David giving Mr. T crap in the locker room?
It wasn't in the locker room.
Where was it?
It was out in the hallway.
In the hallway,
right?
I'm sorry. Okay.
And it was at the entrance going to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, Chief J. Strongbow was following David Schultz around because Schultz was pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, he came up, he pushed Mr. T.
Oh, did he?
Right. But when he pushed Mr. T, Chief Strongbow grabbed Mr. T and the policeman grabbed David Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
He started cursing and swearing up. Chief Strongbow said when he grabbed Mr. T, said his body felt like a piece of steel.
Wow. That's
how tough that guy was. He said Mr. T would have ripped him apart. This was T was at it, was really in good shape. But anyway, they handcuffed David. So David started kicking at him. And this was embarrassing. They took David Schultz, and you asked David that because I was standing right there. I saw every bit of it. They handcuffed his hands behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
Then they laid him on his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Then they handcuffed his legs. Then they handcuffed his feet and hands together, laying on his stomach. The wrestlers was going in the ring. I wrestled Big John Studd that day.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the program, I was wrestling Big John Studd. Wrestlers were stepping over David, going into the ring.
I don't know why that visual strikes me as so funny, but
finally, the guy that looked after David was Chief Strongbow. He went back and he told him, "Don't do that guy like that. Embarrass him in front of the other wrestlers. If y'all gonna take him out, take him out." So they picked him up and they carried him while his hands and feet. Can you picture how he was? He's laying on his stomach, his leg is bent, his hands behind his back, and they handcuff his feet, they handcuff his hands, then they take a third pair of handcuffs and handcuff his hand to his feet.
Wow.
You picture that now?
He must have looked like a luggage bag.
He was pissed. He was fucking pissed, cursing, swearing, everything. So they hauled him out of there on one of these things, looked like a cart or something. And he went out, but because that was the debut, it was a debut, to prove I know what I'm talking about. It was a debut of Paul Orndorff. That same night, so Paul saw it too.
Wow. Well, that must have made for
It was Paul Orndorff's first night in the territory, because afterward, Vince called me back and said, look, I know you and Paul have problems in the past. He said, we bring him in the territory, we're not going to have any trouble out of you, are we? So I said, no, you won't have no trouble out of me. I said, me and Paul. So I went to Paul, and me and him, we made up for what that incident happened with us years ago.
that Brian Blair talks about. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
that
know
Brad
about
Blair lies about.
Yeah, many lies. But Tony, I
Right.
ask you this, David Schultz on the special, and I had never heard this version of the story from other legends that have been in the studio that were in LA that night. He said that the police pulled guns and pointed them at his head. Is that true?
I didn't see no gun.
Yeah, and no one else did either. I don't know, maybe if he remembered it wrong, or maybe he got a little creative with the story, but I don't know.
I didn't see nobody pull a gun.
How effective of a heel do you think David Schultz was? Do you think he was a top main event type guy at that point? Was he mid-card, lower card? Where would you, if you were booking the territory, where do you think Schultz fit in on the food chain back in '85?
He was where he's supposed to be.
And where is that?
Right bang in the middle, not on top.
Yeah. So you wouldn't consider him a main event guy in WWF at
They
least?
didn't either.
Yeah. Well, they
That's
had
why
they had a
that-
talented crew, that's for sure.
See, this is what a lot of wrestlers don't understand. It's not up to the promoter where you be. It's up to the fans.
And the fans didn't quite take to him at that level.
No, that's how Vince found out who to put where. He put you in a building, and he see what the attendance is. If your attendance is in a building that holds 20,000 people, is only 5,000 people come to watch you wrestle, then I put Dan Morella there, and 15,000 come to watch him.
I don't
Who
think
you think will be
15,000
my
are going to
main
see.
event?
I understand. I don't think they're going to. 15,000 are going to come and pay to see me, but I
Yes,
understand.
a lot of wrestlers believe their own publicity.
Yeah.
They think they're more than what they are. And that was a lot of, and I hate to say it, not being racist, but that was a big deal among blacks. Every black figure that they was getting screwed because they were black.
Mhm.
In fact, people don't realize that what put WCW out of business. Teddy Long and all them guys, they sued WCW, remember?
They did. They made off with quite a good payday from that lawsuit. Many of them had no business filing the suit, but that's a different story for a different
They
time.
called me about that. You know what I told them?
It didn't happen to you. I know how you are.
I said, brother, I should sue them for making me champion too many times. The guy said, they didn't mistreat you? I said, no. I said, I should sue them for making me carry them heavy championship belts around.
Well, you're an honest man, if nothing else, right?
Yeah, I like to make some money, but not that way.
You just would have rather have gone back and had another job with them more than anything. I know how you are.
Well-
You'd work for your money.
No, I like to lay my head down at night and know that Tony Atlas did not screw nobody. My whole life, the only person I ever screwed was me.
Just yourself.
I never stepped on anybody's toes, never screwed nobody, never crossed nobody. My mother said, you know, you make your bed, you have to lie in it. Carnite Bill said, the same people you meet on your way up, you meet on the same people on your way down.
I think Lanny Poffo used to say that to his crotch.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Well, Tony, do you think it's strange that kind of David Schultz vanished off the map? As I began to become a wrestling fan as a little kid back in 1986, I don't think I ever saw David Schultz wrestling at that point. The first recollection I have of him is on renting some of the old Coliseum videotapes that WWF would put out, and I wasn't familiar with who he was at a time when 85, 86, you know, WWF was becoming the dominant territory, but you still had NWA, you had AWA, you had World Class, Florida was still running, Memphis, Portland. I know David did go back to Memphis, but at a time when just about every non-WWF territory was looking for talent of name value to put on the cards, are you surprised that David never really had a big run after that, especially where he was a fresh face from WWF TV?
No.
Okay, why?
No. The lawsuit.
They didn't want to be involved in the lawsuit.
Where was you?
No. But
See?
how would another promotion be involved in the lawsuit?
Well, this is how it works.
All right, let's hear it.
When I work for Vince,
Yeah.
they go for the deepest pockets.
And they went for Vince's.
They would go for Vince's pocket.
Right.
And whoever the promoter who hired this guy, because you're responsible for him. But if you're not affiliated with them, like Vince fired the boogeyman. If you ever talk to him, he tell you the same story. He fired the boogeyman over child support.
Right. I remember you told me that.
Right. He owed back child support. Vince don't want to be involved in any criminal activity. In fact, in the contract, he put that in the contract that I have, in 2008, I had to take my contract to the police department and get them to say that I am not wanted for nothing.
Wow.
Right. 'Cause whatever I bring to the table. I bring to WWE. I give you a prime example. Hulk Hogan got busted for steroids, right?
Yeah.
Who went to court? Hogan or Vince?
Well,
Hogan was not on trial.
he had to go and testify, but no, he wasn't on trial. No.
Right, with Mel Phillips. And Pat would do that child molestation.
The Cream Team.
Who they went after?
Well, they went after all three of them.
No, they went after Vince. What
Oh,
did
I see
Vince
what
have to do
you
with
mean.
that?
Okay, I
What
understand your
did Vince
point.
have to do with Hogan using steroids? What did Vince had nothing to do with none of that? None of that.
He just had to do with his own personal use of it.
They work for him. They go after your company. Like if I do something at the YMCA, they're going to get rid of me right away because people are going to sue the Y as long as I'm there. I'm affiliated with them.
But if
Like Dusty Rhodes owed back taxes one time, right?
Yeah.
He did not tell Black Jack Mulligan about it.
Mm-hmm.
So Black Jack Mulligan and them, they bought some cows.
Mm-hmm.
Mulligan said he was sitting on the porch one Sunday, had a day off. So he went by his farm. He's going to spend some time on his farm with his cow farm that he had. He said this big 18-wheeler came up and started loading his cows on. So he said he got off the porch. He walked out and see what the hell. He thought they were cow thieves or something. He said, "What the hell you guys doing?" He said, "Oh, we're here for the Internal Revenue." He said, "Do you know of Virgil Renters?" He goes, "Yes, that's my partner." He said, "Well, he owed back taxes." And then Mulligan said, "Well, take half of the cows because half of them cows is mine." He said, "Whenever you sign a paper with somebody that owed taxes, it's all under one umbrella there."
Wow.
See, Dusty was the one that was behind the taxes, not Mulligan, but they both signed the paper.
They lost the cows.
Right, because they lost the cow because now he's involved in it. They go for the deepest pocket. That's why these companies get rid of it because they're going to forget all about you. You remember when that Hogan stuff started?
Yep.
Didn't you see how quick they stopped talking about Hogan?
Yep.
Once Vince got in the picture, that was it.
Well, it was a difficult 2.5, 3 years for WWF, that's for sure. That could be a long episode in and of itself.
I'll give you another. Chris Benoit.
Yes.
Who they came after?
Well, granted, Chris Benoit was dead. It would be kind of difficult to go after him.
Nevertheless, they went after who?
WWE.
What Vince had to do with that man there?
Well,
What?
directly, nothing.
Exactly. But Vince was connected.
Yeah.
The lawyers go after the deepest pockets. They went after Vince, but they figured Vince was seller out of court, and they get paid. They in it for the money, bro. They don't give a red ass. And whoever got the most money, that's who they go after.
They want the payday.
They want the payday. They look
want
at
the
these
payday.
guys' financial report. They said, "Man, this guy only got $30,000 in the bank. Hell, that won't even pay my fees. So what I'm gonna sue him
Right.
for?"
Well, that's a good point, too. Well, Tony, before we wrap up, are there any final thoughts on David Schultz? Any story maybe that's never come out about him, an experience you had with him? I know he was a heel and you didn't travel with him.
All I got to do is say about David Schultz, well, He was one hell of an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I consider him my friend. I don't know how you think about me, but I consider him as a friend. He never did no harm to me. I never had a problem with him. I didn't know him that well, but with a little bit of time that I did know him, I mean, he treated me okay. That's all I could go by.
I think he'd be interesting to have with us in the studio someday. But then again, I say that about just about everybody, don't I?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Tony, I know you're enjoying your KFC over there. I still hear the bag ruffling around.
What are you talking about?
What kind of chicken did you have?
I got the $5 fill up.
The $5 fill 'em up.
You get mashed potato, a drumstick, and a thigh. And then I got me some beef tacos.
Now, what about, did you get a biscuit?
Yeah, but I'm not going to eat the biscuit because I got the mashed potatoes and the tacos.
Why don't you want the biscuit?
Huh?
You're going to pass up the biscuit?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, you have great tolerance, Tony. The biscuit might have been the first thing I'd gone after.
Too much carbohydrates.
Too many well, you know me, with my svelte condition, I don't need to worry about such things. But Tony, we're running out of time this week. We've had fun. We talked David Schultz. We talked empty arena wrestling. We talked KFC. We'll be back hopefully within the next few days. We have no idea what the long-term or immediate future holds. We'd still love to have you back in the studio once the government officials give us 2 thumbs up. But until then, you know what? A lot of fans are still enjoying this, Tony. It's better than nothing for them.
What are some of the questions they ask?
Well, Christine Allen from Buffalo, this was her question. It was about the David Schultz episode. So we have a whole list. Maybe early next week we can tape another one and give the fans something to enjoy as they're stuck at home, bored like many of us are.
Give me another question. I know you got more than 2.
You know what? Why don't we do this? We'll wrap this one up and we'll turn it into another episode.
No, because once I'm on the phone, I'm off the phone.
Well, no, I'm not going to hang up on you. I'm just going to I'll hit the stop button, Tony, for the love of God.
Well, hit it.
All right, just follow my lead. All right, wrestling fans, for Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, I'm Dan Marati. We'll speak to you soon. Stay healthy, be well.